I picked up a lot of chatter about this, and I haven't run it past Don and Peter, but the Jets beat the Broncos on Sunday, and I'm actually hearing, well, the Jets are going to make the playoffs now.
Oh, yeah, well, Marini's officially lost his mind on the air today. I'm not sure if you realize that or not. There may be an announcement later on this week when it's confirmed.
I mean, we love Greeny, but
yeah.
Wait, what did he say?
He said that they're going to make the playoffs now.
And they did a whole feature on Get Up, like who's the team that the Chiefs should be the most worried about. I think that was the way they phrased it, Anthony, something along those lines. And he said the Jets.
Well, I'm going to say something, and I'm rooting against what I'm going to say.
Right.
They're not making the playoffs.
What?
They're not.
Wait, in
what world are they making the playoffs? They just beat a god-awful Denver team. They're probably going to get completely crushed by the Eagles. They're making the playoffs. How? How in God's name are they making the playoffs?
I know audio is whacked on, but let's I got to hear this here.
I am once again staying with the Jets. I'm telling you right now, if the Jets keep it to 500 by week 12, Aaron Rodgers is coming back. He's coming back. And he's going to do exactly what Brady did. They were 500 with like 3 or 4 games left in the season. His first year in Tampa, they caught fire. He got fire. And next thing you know, they win the Super Bowl.
They're coming back. He's coming back in week 12?
What is he? Greeny, I love you. You've lost your mind.
Yeah, even Aaron Rodgers probably called.
Yeah,
you're out of your 3 months.
So I'm looking. Let's look at the standing, shall we? Miami Dolphins. Let's call the Dolphins, just because they're in first place, let's call the Dolphins the division winner. Okay.
Okay.
Let's call just because they're in first place, let's call the Steelers the division winner. That's not going to happen, but all right. Jacksonville division winner. Chiefs division winner. Those are your 4 that are already in, right?
Right.
Got some wild cards to fill. The Jets are going to get past the following teams to make the playoffs. The Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Browns. Where are they getting in?
Now, I know that their schedule loosens up after this week. They're not making the playoffs. And if you think Aaron Rodgers is coming back in week 12, my goodness gracious.
That's the more, by the way, that was the crazier thing.
You could sit here and go, listen, the playoff, it's possible, I guess. It doesn't seem like it's that strong a conference. The Ravens are only 3-2. Cleveland's 2-2. Cincinnati's gotten off to a slow start. You don't think anybody's coming out of the South for a wild card.
But every team that you mentioned has a great quarterback.
But the Jets have a great defense. The way they won against Denver is your hope is that's the formula to win.
And it can get
the games.
And it could get you to 10-7 somehow.
Right. So that's fine. I mean, you could agree to disagree. It's not insane.
No.
But what he's saying about Rodgers is going to come back in week 13, which is what, 8 weeks from now?
Now we're in La La Land.
And then he's going to guide this team to the playoffs. So Peter, he's not only going to come back.
Yeah.
From a torn Achilles.
Sure.
In 3 months.
At nearly 40 years old.
But excel.
Oh, immediately. Oh, yeah.
I love Greeny. I consider him a family member.
Wow.
You know why? Because you know what? There were times, not presently, but there were times, all these people are gone now from the industry or even here, where the network, they didn't care about little podunk New York's local station. They didn't care. You know who did care? Mike Greenberg cared. He'd come on at a moment's notice, fill in for Michael when he was out. He was as engaged in the success of this radio station as anybody that worked on this floor.
That's right, family.
But he's out of his mind.
Fully.
Well, anybody who's thinking, Greeny's the same guy who said that Zach Wilson can't play in the NFL. This was 2 weeks ago. So what did he do against Denver that proved differently? And also, let's remember, Denver is awful. You beat an awful team.
And there's just not enough awful teams on the schedule to feel like that you're going to win a majority of them. And the other thing, too, is I don't want to take anything away from that Sunday night game. They had Kansas City on the ropes. As a guy that's picked Kansas City a lot in our pick segment, they do toy with teams. They win a lot of games like that. Wasn't it a couple of years ago? The Giants had them on the ropes until the fourth quarter when everything got real, and then Mahomes did what he did. I mean, if Mahomes decides to run into the end zone for that touchdown, not only did the Chiefs win the game, Michael, they cover. All right, so it was a great game. Zach played well. I don't want to poo-poo it at all. But let's not all of a sudden say that now they can play with the big boys because they almost beat the Chiefs. Come on. Really? Is that what you're going to do? And then they lose to Philadelphia by 40 points. Then Greeny's going to go on the air and talk about how everybody should be fired. Like, you can't just swing the pendulum back and forth like that. They win a game, they're going to go to the playoffs and make a run, lose the game, and the season's over. Come on, man.
It's not just Greeny. A lot of people say they're going to end up making the playoffs. They beat the Denver Broncos, not John Elway's Denver Broncos.
But I can have a conversation about them making the playoffs. I mean, it's not crazy.
I think it is, but
I don't think,
I'll defer to you. I think it's crazy.
No, but
Rodgers coming back in week 13
is way crazy.
Hey, listen, how great would it be? What an amazing story. Forget about Willis Reed. This will blow it away if he's able to go out there, come back in week 13 from an Achilles, 2 months quicker than anybody in the history of life, and come back and lead this team to the playoffs. It'd be one of the greatest stories of all time. I'm rooting for it. But unless he's just kind of playing a game, how can you bank on that as the reason they're going to be able to make the playoffs? You want to tell me, all right, they could beat the Giants, they could beat the Chargers, they could beat the Raiders. They seem to have the Bills' number. There's 4 wins right there. Can they beat the Falcons? Yes. Can they beat the Texans? Yes. So there's wins that you could say, hey, maybe they can get to 9. And maybe 9 can get you into the playoffs. That's a conversation. But Aaron Rodgers coming in on a white horse and saving the day, I mean, Disney would turn that script down.
But you believe that before Aaron Rodgers comes back and Greeny's, I don't know, LSD fantasy land, Lace, but you think that Zach Wilson is going to beat all those teams you just said?
Well, I don't think they're beating Philly. Can they win against the Giants?
Yes.
Yes. Can they beat the Chargers at home?
No.
Why not?
I don't think so.
Why? They've got a great defense. They turn Herbert over. You can't tell me that you'd be shocked if they beat the Chargers. Let's not make the Chargers out to be
no.
the greatest
I
team
don't
going.
think
They're
they'll score
poorly
enough points.
coached. At the Raiders, why not? Packers aren't very good. I mean, they beat the Packers yesterday. The Packers aren't great. Love threw a bunch of interceptions. I mean, you're telling me that they can't go to Vegas and beat the Raiders? Half the place will probably be filled with Jet fans.
But what is Zach Wilson showing you other than that quarter and a half?
But I understand that. But I'm just saying what I said when Aaron Rodgers went down. Win games where the kid doesn't make any mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. The defense plays out of its mind. If Breece Hall's running all over the place, breaking 70-yard touchdown runs, why can't you beat those teams? They could beat the Falcons at MetLife. They could beat the Texans at MetLife. No offense, Peter. You don't think they can beat the Commanders at MetLife?
No, I do.
But wait,
of course they can.
One thing we're forgetting,
They can't
right?
beat New England in New England. I know New England's got their number, but
New England, right, has given up 25, 24, 38, 34. The Jets scored 10 points against them.
all right.
That's New England. They're a sieve.
But by week 18, maybe it's all over. Again, I'm not predicting it to happen, but if you want to have a conversation, they can do it. We can have that conversation. At least give me that. We can have that conversation.
We can have it. You can't sell me on it.
But that's not the reason I think Greeny's insane. The Rodgers coming back part. But they'll be a favorite against the Giants. Heck, they might be a favorite against the Chargers. Chargers are only 2-2. Let's see what ends up happening there. They could be. I don't know if they'll be a favorite on the road. And listen, winning at Buffalo's tough, but they seem to have the Bills' number. But if they win the games I said, they've got 2 wins now. Giants 3, Raiders 4, Falcons 5, Texans 6, Commanders 7, Patriots 8. That's 8 wins that I think.
And you didn't give them the
feasible.
Charger win.
Well, I didn't, because I'm playing devil's advocate here. So that's 8 that I think they can definitely get to. So that's 1 win away from possibly qualifying for the 3rd wild card, because the one thing I think we overrated was this conference. Baltimore doesn't look as good as we thought they were. Chargers are only 500. Browns are only 500. So I think that 9 might be able to get you in. So if you think that I was right about the wins that they could get and get to 8, you're telling me it's impossible for them to make the playoffs? But we're off 1 game?
Michael's being that guy today. He's being that guy.
How am I being that guy? You've watched the Jets play, Peter.
I agree, and let's not conflate the Jets with the Giants. I also watched the Jets last year, a very, very similar team win football games in the first half of the season and not be able to do so late. But there's no reason to think they can't win a bunch of games the way they did this past weekend.
But you're conflating the Broncos with other teams. The Broncos are terrible. How are they going to score enough points to win games?
But I also saw them almost beat the Chiefs, and I saw them beat the Bills.
They didn't almost beat the Chiefs. At no point did you think the Jets were going to win that game. Stop it.
Well, I mean, what do you mean at no point?
You thought the Jets were going to beat the Chiefs at any point, despite Mahomes being terrible. As Don said, if he doesn't slide at the 2, they covered.
Late in that game, I mean,
20 in the second half, you can't say it didn't creep into your mind, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't have predicted it because it's the Chiefs, right? That's kind of what they do.
But would you have been shocked if the Jets had won at that point?
I would have been shocked.
At 2020,
I would have been shocked.
Considered a shock if they
I would have been shocked.
All right, man. I don't know what to tell you, Michael. This is... I've watched every Jets game so far. This is not a good football team. This is a very flawed quarterback, one who over the last 2 starts has been showing a little bit of progression from where he was earlier in the season. This is a guy who no one expected was going to be starting. They have a lot of weapons. Breece Hall is clearly getting his legs back. That's something we didn't talk about. This week he went to the house. You know what I mean? He's starting to get the afterburners back.
They just lost their right tackle. Their left tackle's knee is shot.
That's not great. But by the way, as the season goes on, I'm here to remind everyone, injuries like this will happen to every team. The only team who manages to not be able to play any football at all after those injuries is the Giants. Most teams are still able to put a team together and get on the field. Michael, they're not going to be impressive where every week we're going, oh, my God. But I'm with Don that, like, in terms of the crazy things Greeny said, the way crazier thing is Rodgers is coming back week 13. That's send him to the nuts house crazy.
And also, would the Chiefs fear the Jets? That game would be in Kansas City. Believe me, the Chiefs are not. Now they'll fear him, I guess, if Rodgers does come back. But let's not make out that game that they were competitive in October. Or actually, I guess that game was late September. And apply it to winning a game in January in Kansas City. A little bit of a different thought. Well, maybe at some point Greeny will come back to us. The balloon has floated away.
What makes him think that Rodgers is coming back in Week 13? A medical miracle.
He's a fan. He's a
fan of medicine? I mean...
No, he's a fan
of Rodgers and the Jets.
He's a fan that now it's finally, because not only are you asking for a miracle, you're asking for the miracle to happen to the Jets,
which is a miracle-less franchise since 1969.
Do you know what I say about Rodgers coming back week 13, Don?
I know
that's not true.
But I don't want to sit here and say I'm not rooting for it.
Well, it'd be great. It'd be great for us because I root for us. It would be great for us, but it's not happening.
I'm rooting for someone I know to win the Powerball tonight.
And you know what? And also, this is a serious allegation by me, but I know Greeny. I know the way he thinks. I know the way the fans think. He is going to put it into his mind that this can happen, and then in Week 14, when maybe they finally say Rodgers is done, it'll be another reason to cry, woe is me, I'm a Jet fan. Why doesn't anything go my way? Like, make up something impossible to happen so when it doesn't happen, you can cry poverty
I
again.
truly believe that Aaron Rodgers has this Svengali hold on people. He has made people think that he's going to defy all the odds and come back in 3 months. 3 months at the age of 40 and be a great quarterback. He's made people think that with his words. It seems like he lulls people into a trance that people actually believe him.
And I got to tell you, and listen, it's apples and wrenches because it's two different human beings, but this is the whole Saquon Barkley thing. Like, Saquon always wants to come back. He always believes he'll come back and defy the odds, and he does most times. And you know what happens? He comes back too soon and gets hurt again. So if I'm a Jet fan, do I really want him coming back in Week 13 unless you're 100% sure that it's all cured and it's all better? Have this guy, God forbid, get hurt again and then put 2024 in jeopardy? So should you even be rooting for him to come back that soon? Do you think that's a good idea?